Hello, sixth graders. My name is Miss McCaslin, and today I'm going to be talking to you about soil stewardship. Before we get to that, though, I want to go back a little bit and talk about the Dust Bowl. This is the part of Miss Schaefer's video where she waved her hands violently in front of the screen and said, "Oh, Miss McCaslin will talk to you about that." So you might want to go back in your notes to that section. I'm also calling this a prelude to soil conservation because in order for us to understand why we need to conserve the soil, we need to look at some of the consequences of not preserving the soil. And the Dust Bowl is an example of just that. When our soil becomes too dry, it can more easily erode away in the wind. An example of this was the Dust Bowl that took place in the 1930s. There was a drought in the Plain States, along with poor farming practices, which caused heavy erosion of our topsoil at that time. In the top right corner, you can see a picture of what the Dust Bowl might have looked like at that time. Living in the Dust Bowl would not have been very fun. This lasted for almost 10 years. It took place in the Southern Plains states. And if you look at the map in the bottom corner, you can see where we're talking about. I found a website that you can use to simulate what it would have been like to live during the Dust Bowl. You can click on that link, and it will take you to this site. It's called The Dust Bowl, a film by Ken Burns. There's a lot of information here, but right here there's an interactive Dust Bowl activity. It says you are about to embark on an experience that will show you what life was like on the Southern Great Plains during the Dust Bowl. So basically, you will take a journey through what it was like to live during the Dust Bowl. You will click there, and then it will give you places that you can choose to live. You would have to farm there, figure out whether it's worth staying, or should you move west. If you feel like you want to go explore that now, feel free to pause the video and go to this website, www.pbs.org/kenburns/dustbowl/interactive. You can also just Google Interactive Dust Bowl PBS and it'll pop up. That's how I found it. I'm going to continue on with today's lesson though. So, going back to what we were talking about. A review. Ms. Schaefer talked to you about all the different components that make up soil. And we need to make sure that we are preserving our good soil so that we don't have things like the Dust Bowl happening again. A review of good soil, things that we would need to have would be dark in color, which means that it's high in nutrients, that there's organic and inorganic materials in our soil, that it's not too dry or too wet, that it's slightly acidic, meaning it has a slight pH level to it. There's not too much sand or clay in it, and there's a deep layer of topsoil. So basically, we want to be like Goldilocks and find the just right sample of soil. And that just right sample would include all of these things listed here. Now, in order to make sure we have those types of things, we have to make sure we are conserving our soil. Your teachers may have been mentioning the word soil stewardship to you. I know that I did with my students. And many people asked me, what does soil stewardship mean? Soil stewardship mean, Miss McCaslin? And I told them that they would find out in today's video. So here you go. What is soil stewardship? Well, stewardship in itself is the responsible planning and management of resources. Therefore, soil stewardship would be the responsible planning and management of the soil. This PowerPoint is going to take you through some of the things that we can do to help conserve soil. Your notes may look a little different at this point than what the PowerPoint is going to show. However, I promise you that all the information that I'm going to present will be in those notes. It just might not go in the same exact order. In addition, this PowerPoint is going to have extra information that's not listed in the notes that you received in class. It may be a good idea to take additional notes below the notes that you were given in class to fill in the blank. I'm going to start by just talking about soil erosion. Soil erosion is basically when the soil wears away. And when we have too much soil eroding away, then that means that we don't have enough soil left to do things like farm or plant plants and things like that. It is that loss of soil. There are some natural causes of soil erosion, things like wind and water or rain, gravity pulling down the sediment that's on our hills and mountains, and things like ice. When we have ice there, that ice freezes, and when it thaws and freezes and thaws and freezes, it is basically chipping away at things and causing that soil to erode away. There are other causes of soil erosion as well, things like farming, mining, construction. Severe weather definitely speeds up soil erosion. Storms, tornadoes, and floods. If you've ever seen media coverage of any of these things, you probably have noticed that there's a lot of soil and dirt and all these different things that get washed away to other locations. So it's important for us to preserve or save our soil. I'm going to go through 5 ways that we can save our soil. Your notes contain 3 different ways, so just figure out which of these fit in those 3, and then there will be a couple of additional ones that you might want to take some notes on. Actually, you definitely want to take some notes on this. So crop rotation is the first one. Crop rotation means that you're going to plant different crops on the same field, but do it in different years. So for example, I might start off one year by planting some corn. The following year, I might plant some cotton, and then tomatoes. By rotating these crops one year to the next, I am making sure that my soil gets different amounts of nutrients in it and stays good soil for planting. I can also use a process called conservation tillage. This means that I'm going to reduce the number of times that my fields are tilled or plowed in a year. Now, I don't actually have any fields to plow, but this is something that farmers would definitely want to do. You probably have seen machines like this before, where they go through and they dig up the soil to get it ready for planting. But by reducing the number of times you do that each year, you reduce the amount of soil that you would lose. Terraces. Now, I am not talking about your back deck or the balcony that you walk out onto, but it is a similar theory. Terraces are flat, step-like areas that are built on a hillside to prevent rainwater from running downhill. Well, what would that look like? Glad you asked. This is exactly what it would look like. You can notice that they've basically created steps in the soil so that when it rains, it's not all just getting washed away. I know that my friends that live in the mountains and plant gardens have a lot of terraces that they plant their crops on because they don't want their soil to instantly be washed away when it rains. The fourth way that we can conserve our soil is contour plowing. Contour plowing is when you plow along curves or contours of a slope to prevent water from running straight downhill. Here are some examples of what that would look like. If you've ever flown in a plane over the country, you might have seen some of these down below, and you might have thought, oh, those are pretty cool designs. Well, they actually are practical. They keep our soil from eroding away. Windbreaks. This is our 5th way that we can protect our soil. Windbreaks occur by planting rows of trees between fields to break or reduce the force of the winds. Here are some pictures of that. By planting these trees, the wind is blocked from getting to the soil, and therefore it cannot cause it to erode away. So, without protection, soil can wash away in a mud flow following heavy rains. It could erode and deposit in a new place. It could create a landslide and destroy homes that are nearby. It could slump and create these rifts and crevices in the ground. So the summary is, don't leave soil bare. You want to keep plants in your soil. Having roots planted is going to cause it to stay where it's supposed to be instead of making it get blown away by soil erosion. You want to use conservation and contour plowing techniques. You want to rotate your crops that are planted so that nutrients are able to stay in the soil. If you have any questions, feel free to ask any of your science teachers about soil stewardship and soil conservation.